this is the day. We will know a whole lot by the time the dust settles.
Welcome back to Happy Valley.
Everything matters. That's where we win right here. Not on the field.
For where we want to be at the end of the season starts with our mentality and our attention to detail today.
Welcome to the weekly game preview brought to you by PSECU. I'm your host, Mitch Gerber. Coming up on today's program, we'll hear from head coach James Franklin. We'll go one-on-one with wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, and then we'll preview the matchup between Penn State and Illinois. But for now, let's toss it over to head coach James Franklin.
Yeah, I obviously it helps for me to understate that. Would not be accurate. He's been really good. Really since the season ended last year and really for the last couple of years. Like I said, PJ in his role right now is, I think, still done a really good job from a leadership standpoint, but it's different. Obviously, when you're able to be in the huddle and be able to lead not only with your words, but also your actions. So it's been good.
Jason, if you have to go with Jaquan and Christian, how much does it change your game plan?
Yeah, it changes. It changes. I think with Sean, there's a lot of things we can do. I wouldn't necessarily say that our offense will change stylistically, but you want to say, okay, Taquan, what do you feel really good about? What are the 15 normal downs plays? What are the 5 third down plays? What are the 5 red zone plays that you feel best about? And and rep those as much as you possibly can. And the same thing with Christian Veilleux. But we'll see how that goes. But I think that will be a conversation that we'll need to have.
James, for a while now, you've been sharing motivational, inspirational quotes on social media. Do you mind sharing just how did that get started and kind of how do you choose the quotes that you're going to feature on any given day?
Yeah, it really is just we do a quote to start every single team meeting. Typically something that aligns with the message that I'm going to talk to the team about. And we put so much work into, creating the graphic or whatever it may be for the team meeting. We said, might as well share them because they're really good quotes. So just an opportunity to get that message out there. And some people really like quotes. A lot of times I'll go to high schools and see them up in the coach's office or whatever it may be. So, not anything really profound, just something we're using in a team meeting anyway. So we figured we might as well put it out socially as well.
James, obviously you said Devin Ford was your starter at Iowa before he went out. Have you seen a change in your plan with the running back rotation? Do you know who your lead back is yet?
No, it's really kind of how it's been all year long until somebody takes ownership of that job. We'll rotate, all those guys, all the guys that are available.
Is the fluidity of Sean's status frustrating at all relative to the idea that you said yesterday you wanted to split him 50-50? You kind of have that plan 50-50. You get to Thursday or Friday, Sean can't play, then Taquan loses the reps that he could have gotten, kind of balancing getting ready for whatever happens on Saturday with uncertainty of his status.
Yeah, I think that's fair, but I think we would all agree that we'd like Sean back, so we'll adjust. We'll adjust and do what we have to do. But I think your point is a good one. We obviously want to be able to invest our time where we think we're going to get the greatest return. And, that's hard to say. I mean, literally, by the day. And a lot of times we'll get a report in the morning. We have a staff meeting every morning at 7 a.m. and Andy Mutton will go through it. And we get one report at 7 a.m. and it may be different, by 2 o'clock. So kind of, I think your term fluid is, a good word to describe kind of where we're at right now and just kind of take it day by day. But I think it's a fair point. We want to try to make sure, like we always do, that the guys that are going to play the most reps in the game, the starters are getting the majority of the reps. And that's hard to say right now.
Hey, James, your 1-0 mantra aside, do you have to do the math for these guys at all to show them still what's possible ahead, or is that just you just assume that
No, I don't want them thinking like that. There's too many things. There's too many people outside. There's too much outside noise. Everybody's got an opinion. I want to beat Illinois, and I just truly believe these guys got a bunch on their plate academically, athletically, socially, and cutting this thing up into small pieces and focus on the task at hand, I think, is the best way to keep everybody focused and as consistent as possible. I think it's also magnified. I think the philosophy is magnified a little bit because, depending on what type of school you're at or where you're at, what the expectation is. And I think the college football playoff has changed that probably more than ever. It's depending on what type of school you're at and where you're at, the college football playoff has dramatically changed. I think how you operate and how people view things, and I think it's made it more challenging. So I think this is the right approach for us.
You mentioned kind of the changing availability, and that was today the first that Sean's been able to throw this week, or did he go yesterday?
Today was not the first day that Sean's been able to throw.
James, what do you think about the parity in the Big Ten? We see Purdue trip up Iowa. Do you think any team could beat any in this conference?
Yeah, I think we got a really strong conference, especially on the East. I think we have a really strong conference, really the Big Ten in general, but specifically the East. I think it's a really good example of not only any given Saturday, but there's also matchups. Some teams, you look at Purdue's given Iowa challenges for years. Obviously, talking to Coach Poindexter on our staff, sometimes it's about matchups. Sometimes it's about just a competition in our conference from top to bottom, and then from one side to the other. I think most people would say that right now our conference is part of the conversation or the argument about the strongest conference in college football. It's typically been that way, right? The SEC and the Big Ten.
Did the off week come at a good time, especially for Noah Cain? From the outside looking in, at least, it didn't look like he was quite the Noah Cain we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I think, obviously, I don't want to get back into that whole discussion, but we had a bunch of injuries in the Iowa game. A bunch of guys that got knocked out and did not come back. That's a physical football team. It was a physical game. So yeah, from that perspective, we were fortunate to have the bye to get a lot of those guys healthy and back. So yeah, I think sometimes the buys are a little screwy where someone gets a bye really early in the season, like week 2 or week 10 or 11. I think whenever possible, you'd hope the conference would say we're going to try to get the buys somewhere in the middle of the season. I know a lot of times people don't like that because then you may have one weekend in the middle where a lot of people are off, like I think like our last weekend or this weekend maybe. But I do think that's the best thing for the conference and for the individual schools.
What does Illinois do offensively that you're concerned about for your defense to match up against?
Well, I think, for us, obviously we better know where number one is. He gave us fits, last year. He's a dynamic guy that can do a lot of different things as a receiver, as a running back, as a quarterback, off double passes, whatever it may be. I think he's the guy that you better be aware of. I've been very impressed with number 0, the freshman tailback. I've been very impressed with him. And they got veteran quarterbacks. So, I think like a lot of programs, and with Coach Bielema being in his first year, I think, they're probably still looking for what is their identity in some ways. And sometimes that takes time. But obviously, if you look at, Coach Bielema's track record and you look at his history and who he wants to be and how he wants to operate, maybe some of his hires this year have been a little bit different than that, but I still think kind of his core values and the things he believes in the way the game is supposed to be played are still going to show up. So, for us, we better be aware of number 1 and where he's at.
There are certain positions that don't, on the recruiting trail, that don't sneak up on people. Trevor Lawrence wasn't a surprise. without asking you about specific people, you offer a guy a year or plus ago that is 300 or 400 in the nation, or maybe in the middle of the pack at his position, ends up in the top 100 and much higher with his own position. Does that come from finding a guy in a weird time? Does it come from people just didn't know about him? Does it come from evaluating early? How do you find a guy that people didn't see and then have him turn into what he is?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things, right? It's obviously, a really good evaluation process and being thorough. But for me to say, that's the entirety of it would not be correct. I think it's his development. I think he's done a tremendous job from a development. I think his quarterback coach has done a really good job as well. Obviously, going to his high school the other day, I think he's playing in an offense that also allows him to maximize his ability and show his talents. I think it's a combination of all those things. And let's be honest, there's a skill to this, there's a talent to this, and then there's also that goes along with it. I think Coach Belichick and I think the Patriots, you could make the argument maybe one of the most impressive organizations in all of sports for the last 50 years. There was also slug involved at Tom Brady in the 6th round, and for anybody to say that was the plan, that they knew it was going to work out would not be accurate. That was something that worked out really well. We were able to get on, this young man. Obviously, we can't get into the specifics, but he's just flourishing. Quarterbacks are flourishing. It's weird because I can't say who I'm talking about. So it's strange. Yeah, it's strange.
James, we're about to talk to Jaquan Brisker in a second. He earned an AP midseason All-American nod this week. With a guy like PJ out, who's one of your leaders, how important is it to have Jaquan back there as one of your captains?
Yeah, I'm been really pleased with him in really every area. He's going to graduate from Penn State. He's playing really good for us, putting the team in position to win. He's become very vocal, as a leader for us, all those things. So for him to be recognized is great. I don't really, I don't want this to come out the wrong way because I'm really happy for him, but like preseason things and middle season things, we're more concerned about kind of the end of season team recognition and then individual as well. Thank you. See you guys.
That's head coach James Franklin addressing the local media following Wednesday's practice here in State College, as we now welcome in sophomore wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith. And Keandre, coach was talking a little bit about the bye week, so I'm going to start there. How did you take advantage of that time off?
Just making sure my body's well rested, getting good region in, but still watching film with the guys and game planning and getting ready for Illinois this week.
And he also took care of school. We were kidding about this earlier. We were kidding about this earlier. We were talking today because he was at the quarterback club with me. Everybody has to make an improvement in an off season. Spring, Jack Ham and I could see you were starting to flourish. What started to kick in for you after your freshman season?
I think it was just my mental. Coach Stubbs talked to me all the time about my mental. So, I just focused in on that and stopped letting one play affect me. So, when I did that, I seen my game start to go to another level, and I'm going to continue to grow in that area and then just becoming more explosive with the ball in my hands and being a playmaker. I'm also working on that.
You mentioned that 83-yard play where he split I think he showed explosiveness there.
You mentioned the mental aspect of the game, and Coach Stubblefield, how has he helped develop that side of your craft?
Just always on top of me, whether if I drop a pass in practice or if I'm in the type of mood, he's always on my back and telling me next play, shut the door. So, I kind of took that with me in my own mind, and so when the play doesn't go away and when I'm on the field in the game, I just learned how to shut it next play.
How much blocking did you have to do in high school, and how much blocking do you have to do now in this offense?
Well, I actually did a lot of blocking in high school. My coach, just like here, he took a lot of pride in it. So if you don't block, you don't get the rock. So, I took a lot of pride in blocking then and still now.
By the way, they won the state championship. First one in 80 years. I mean, anything that happens before I was born, that's a long time ago.
If you don't block, you don't get the rock. I like that slogan right there. All right.
that.
2 words that Coach Franklin just used in his press conference were skill and talent. Where do you feel that your skill and talent has developed the most since your arrival in Happy Valley?
My skill, I think I've become more explosive, just more twitchy, my agility. I mean, I've been working like the strength staff. They get me right every day, summer workouts. I mean, I improved in that aspect, and skill and talent. I think I sharpened a lot of my tools. I mean, catching, route running, especially with Coach Stubbs. I mean, we practice route running every day, especially when you got Han and Parker. I mean, we just tweak routes, run them different ways. So, I mean, I feel like my game has developed a lot in that way.
We had a little fun at quarterback club today. So tell them about when you knew you were going to come to Penn State, when you were standing there in the whiteout with the coach.
Yeah, so I mean, when I went to the whiteout game, my coach had took a couple of the guys up there, and I seen KJ crib the slant, and I felt the energy. I just felt the stadium. I was there, and I just looked at my coach. I'm like, yeah, I want to play here. Like, this is the environment I want to be in, like primetime games like this. So, I mean, I'm blessed to be here now.
KJ Hamler, Jahan Dotson, how does playing with primetime playmakers push you to the next level?
I mean, Han, I study his game for real. Like just today, he had a good move. I'm gonna go back and watch it on film today. Like just take a little bit of his stuff, everything he does, and I add it to my my toolbox. Watching all our receivers, we all got a different type of game to us. So I mean, I'm gonna watch everybody and pick different pieces from their game and add it to mine.
Are you always thinking big play? Or are there certain times on certain plays you're thinking, I just need to get the yardage here? But are you always thinking big play?
I want to say I'm always thinking big play. I mean, I catch the ball first, secure the ball first. Yep. But, yeah, you always looking to score. Coach Yers has preached that. When you catch the ball, look for a touchdown. We ain't looking for it. We want the yards, but we want the touchdown also. So get what you can get, but we want that touchdown ultimately.
There's a lot more in the toolbox for him when it comes to those plays.
Well, speaking of the toolbox, when you were a kid, you got the Nittany Lion pumpkin carved out right here, courtesy of Lauren Geppert from the Penn State football program. What was your go-to carving of the pumpkin?
Probably just a little face up there.
Just a little triangle eyes, jig set, the simplicity.
The scary teeth, the zigzag teeth, yeah, that's it.
That's Keandre Lambert-Smith, sophomore wide receiver here for Penn State University. Appreciate your time.
No problem.
What bothers me is they asked me to pose for this.
Keandre Lambert-Smith, one of the impact players so far for Penn State here in 2021 as he continues to be a force on that wide receiver front. Interesting point from Keandre just about Jahan Dotson and those other explosive playmakers led by Coach Stubblefield. How have you seen them from the broadcast booth really excel to the next level?
You feel like any time the ball is put in the air with Penn State, the possibility is there to score. That's exciting because I've seen over the years, and this is before James got here, there have been a year or two where, okay, it was pedestrian, it was station to station, and then when obviously with Derek Williams and Jordan Norwood and Deion Butler here, boom, it took off. Well, ever since James has been here, this is what they've wanted to do, explosive plays, big plays. Penn State has 38 of them so far in 6 games. Now, that's a little bit better than 6 a game. Well, he'd like to get 10 a game. And that's just fun, exciting, entertaining. And see, this is what I've said about with James Franklin here at Penn State. They win, and they win with flair. Right? You win because you got a guy like Keandre Lambert-Smith. You win because you got a guy like Jahan Dotson. You win because of a big play guy like Parker Washington. It's just winning, and it's fun the way they win. That's all part of it. The explosive plays, that's a big part of winning, but boy, it sure is entertaining.
Well, explosive plays are absolutely a part of the winning formula here at Penn State University. What will Penn State's offense see going up against Illinois' defense this Saturday?
I mean, Illinois, a couple guys in their defensive front are pretty good. There's no getting around it. I think Avery's a really good player. You watch him play. I like him a lot. Now, they're going to miss a big one in Hansen. Seth Coleman's going to come back on the edge. Coleman's been out. He's going to come back and play in this game. 35 Hansen, though, is not going to be able to play. It's too bad because this is one of the top inside linebackers in the Big Ten. You can see they can create big plays. I mean, like this. They're good, tough, hard-hitting defense. They are a team that, wants to be physical up front like that and make plays like that. And that's what you have to do. You have to be able to control it. But, you can hit the big play on them too. And they know, and you understand that. And that's where, where they've been hurt. But see the pressure they're putting on the quarterback there? I mean, that's what Penn State has to avoid.
And then flipping sides of the football for Illinois' offense, what stands out?
Well, Chase Brown, the running back, number 2, really good player. Like him a lot. The odd part about the Wisconsin game is that, they had the ball in the first quarter, and he didn't carry the ball once. He didn't have his first carry till the second quarter, which is odd. Brandon Peters has been banged up. So Art Sikowski, the transfer from Rutgers, who has a good arm, more of a pocket guy. Isaiah Williams, number 1, is absolutely explosive. He played quarterback against Penn State in Beaver Stadium last December. That's Deuce Spann, another former quarterback that is in the mix at wide receiver as well. He's been banged up. That's Luke Ford, the transfer from Georgia right there. Daniel Barker, 87, big tight end. Big tight end. It's been there. I feel like Barker's been there for 22 years. And so they can make plays like that in the offense with what they have. But I think Brown has been their best player. Epstein, unfortunately, has had an injury-plagued career, is out for the year as well. He started the initial game against Nebraska. But that's who they are offensively.
Well, Illinois' offense will have to take on Ellis Brooks, a linebacker here at Penn State University, who has been a force to be reckoned with here in 2021, taking advantage of his redshirt senior season. And for more on that, we talked to defensive coordinator Brett Pry earlier this week.
Rolling out of the pocket, looking, Peaches turns it up and gets chopped down.
That's not who you want to run into in the middle of the field. This guy is an absolute monster.
Redshirt senior Ellis Brooks continues to be an absolute monster for Penn State in 2021. Mitch Gerber alongside defensive coordinator Brett Pry. Coach, Ellis racked up a career-high 14 tackles his last time out. So from your perspective, where has he made the biggest impact on the field this year?
Yeah, he's so instinctive. He really locates the ball well. Very smart football player, a good student of the game. He's maximizing his potential in the classroom and on the field as a fifth-year player. Here's a guy that didn't play a whole lot in the first 3 years and is, everybody's path is different. For Ellis, year 4 and year 5 have really been just tremendous growth, reaching his potential and then some. He's just maximizing his experience here. Ellis is, at the midpoint of the season, I'm very happy with where he's at.
The coaches raved about Ellis Brooks, called him the most valuable guy on the defense because of his intellect. Gus, he's the smartest guy on the field for them. Gets them lined up, gets them in the right calls. He knows what's going on.
You mentioned the word growth. Where has he taken the biggest strides that people aren't talking about?
Yeah, Ellis's leadership is probably, we got so much strong leadership on defense with Brisker and Mustafa and Lucchetta and Castro. And, I think what Ellis does, there's a lot of confidence and trust from his teammates in making the right call, getting us lined up correctly. He's very calm, he's very collected out there. He's good command for the defense. And I think, that can never be underestimated. We've been fortunate. We've had some good ones at that spot, but Ellis is playing as well as any of them, leading the defense and getting us in the right alignments and right places.
Ellis Brooks is 6'1", 241 pounds, and he can seriously hit.
Pulls it down, wants to run it, and slides down, gets hit hard. Ellis Brooks delivering a blow.
Woo. The way that he hits in open space is as hard as any linebacker in the country, you could argue. What makes him so dangerous in that open space?
Yeah, he's just so quick. He's hard to block because he's so quick. And then at the same time, when he's making an open field tackle, he can really uncoil and unload. He's got good feet, good knee bend, and is very confident in his tackling right now.
Ellis Brooks and Penn State will be back at it this Saturday against Illinois at noon inside Beaver Stadium.
Steve, how have you seen Ellis Brooks maximize his experiences at Penn State?
Well, Mitch, I think we talk about the quarterback on offense. I think every defense needs a quarterback. You need to have somebody that has the ability to start the play out and get everybody in the right spot and make the right call. So you need somebody with like a full range in terms of what they see and the intellect and that's Ellis Brooks. He's got that, and he makes plays as much with his mind as he does with his body, and he gets guys in the right spot. But where he's become really good is that you watch the angles he takes. He takes a great angle because he understands angles in pursuit. You watch him drop into pass coverage. He does a great job of the depth of the drop where you got to throw the ball over him, which then opens the door, obviously, for safeties or corners to make plays. So he has become an outstanding all-around player that is a leader who uses his mind, and now his football skill and his mind are on the same plane right now, and that's really special to see.
Well, Ellis's leadership will be back on display this Saturday inside Beaver Stadium when Penn State takes on the Fighting Illini at noon Eastern for the 101st edition of Penn State's homecoming. And fans, don't forget to join us for the Unrivaled pregame show starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time from Team Arrival. If you're going to be at the stadium, be sure to join us. If you're not, join us right here on the streaming platform where you're watching currently. And Steve, we can't end this show without making sure we run through your favorite editions of each home game, starting with...
Well, the clear bag policy is so important, Mitch. I mean, it really is. I mean, you want to make sure that people can see everything that you're bringing in because it's very important for the safety in the stadium, but you have to have somebody. So clear bag, very important.
Clear bag, very important. Information right there on the screen. And then from the clear bag, make sure that you have your tickets downloaded ahead of time.
Yes.
If you haven't done this so far this season, here's your information on how to do so. Go to gopsusports.com/mobile tickets. Save those directly to your Apple Wallet or Google Pay before arriving to Beaver Stadium on game day. I can promise you it's going to save you a whole bunch of time as you walk up to the gate.
Do it now.
Do it now.
Since we're talking about it, just do it now. Take care of it. That way you sit back and go, you know, I can enjoy the rest of the week. I've already taken care of it.
And then last but not least, parking. If you are coming to this weekend's game against the Illini at noon Eastern, make sure that you arrive ahead of time. Know exactly which lot you're parking in, whether you're going to be coming from the north, east, south, or west. And then make sure that you, once again, get here nice and early, be a part of those tailgate festivities, and then come on into Beaver Stadium where Penn State will meet with the Illini for the 26th all-time appearance between the two in series history. That's going to do it for this edition of the PSECU Weekly Game Preview. We'll see you Saturday.
This is the day. We will know a whole lot by the time the dust settles.
Welcome back to Happy Valley.
Everything matters. That's where we win right here. Not on the field.
But where we want to be at the end of the season starts with our mentality and our attention to detail today.